Nobody wants to feel lonely. The human species evolved side by side with the concept of society. It's really not even accurate to say that humans created society because it's more like society is just an inevitable product anytime more than one human inhabit the same space. We are inherently social creatures. Even if you're a natural introvert, you still need some amount of human connection and societal validation to maintain your sanity. I'm sure you've all heard of examples of how people will just go insane if forced to live in total isolation. That's just how it is. So, being alone in this world, it is a truly brutal way to live. But loneliness is a spectrum, because everybody that's ever lived has felt loneliness to some degree. But not everyone that claims to be lonely is experiencing an equal amount of suffering. I mean, it's a relative thing, like just because there's people in rural Africa that are literally starving to death, that doesn't mean that I don't also feel hunger. So I'm not trying to downplay how anybody feels, but there are different levels to loneliness. And I think that right now, with the current state of the world being what it is, true loneliness is being experienced by more people than ever before. And this isn't going to be one of those videos that talks all about how social media addiction is ruining the world. I think there are ways that social media exacerbates the loneliness epidemic, but that's not the purpose of this video. I'm actually going to be breaking things down analytically and explaining the 4 different levels of loneliness. And I'm going to be explaining what it feels like to experience loneliness at each level, and most importantly, I'll tell you how you can know which level of loneliness you're at. The first level of loneliness I'm going to go over is the lowest level of loneliness. This level is called hot girl loneliness. And it's called that because it's a type of loneliness that can only be experienced by hot girls. And if you're currently suffering from a higher level of loneliness, then you probably wouldn't even consider hot girl loneliness to be a true form of loneliness at all. But basically, hot girl loneliness is when you have all of your basic social needs met, you have a large and varied group of friends, you have seemingly infinite romantic options, and your phone is always buzzing with notifications. You never have to search for someone to talk to or someone to comfort you. You never have to search for someone to do anything for you because everyone wants to be around you all the time. On top of that, all throughout society, everywhere you go, you find nothing but praise and encouragement. From women in STEM initiatives to preferential treatment in the workplace, and even free passes to commit violent crime with little to no repercussions in the court of law, to the outside observer, it might seem like you've got it made. But that's where they're wrong, because you are lonely. You may have all your basic social needs met and more, but you just can't manage to lock down the one man you want the most. I mean, you do get his time, attention, and affection, but not always on your terms. And the worst part of all is that if you were able to lock down that one man you want, he would then cease to be the object of your desire because all throughout your life, you've been shown time and time again that you can always do better. And so you're always trying to do better. And so you feel lonely in the sense that none of your romantic interests could possibly ever give you a sense of permanent fulfillment. And not only that, but you're always left to wonder, do these people really care about me at all, or is it just because I'm hot? That's the first level of loneliness, hot girl loneliness. Moving up the hierarchy, the second level of loneliness is ugly girl loneliness. It's a lot like hot girl loneliness, but there are a few key differences. If you suffer from ugly girl loneliness, then all of your basic social needs are met most of the time. You may experience temporary periods of romantic loneliness from time to time, but ultimately you won't have much difficulty finding meaningful long-term relationships or short-term romantic partners. In general, people are good to you, and you get the feeling that society genuinely cares about you on an institutional level. You have a solid social circle, but you always have a nagging feeling in the back of your head that many of your friends and romantic partners would leave you if they had better options. And sometimes that does happen, and you experience rejection. Ugly girl loneliness might sound like a walk in the park to those suffering from a higher level of loneliness, but there is real pain there. Those afflicted with ugly girl loneliness do experience rejection from time to time. In fact, the experience of rejection is the main differentiator between ugly girl loneliness and hot girl loneliness. The third level of loneliness is what is known as male loneliness. Now, there is some disagreement amongst clinical psychologists as to whether or not this category should actually be considered two separate levels, those levels being Chad loneliness and sub-5 male loneliness. And I think there are some valid arguments in favor of the split-level male loneliness model, but for the time being, I'm sticking with the classic combined male loneliness model, which includes Chads and sub-5 males alike, because the main drivers of male loneliness are the same whether we're talking about a Chad or we're talking about a man that is sub-5 on the look scale. If you're suffering from male loneliness, then there is a metaphorical rain cloud that follows you wherever you go. Social isolation is your default state, and you must put in at least some amount of effort to initiate and maintain relationships if you want to overcome that social isolation. Now, the amount of effort a man has to put in to overcome that default state is highly dependent on his looks, and this is where there is some disagreement among top researchers in the field, as there is a growing contingent in support of the hypothesis that Chads actually don't have to put forth any effort at all. But I'm not here to state my opinions, so I'm just not going to comment on that. However, we do know for sure that all men, no matter what they look like, do suffer from loneliness on an institutional level. From a very early age, boys become aware of the fact that they are viewed as second-class citizens by the authorities at every level of society. First, a boy notices that all of his school teachers are female and they all give preferential treatment to the girls. An astute observer may even notice that the entire structure of the American public school system seems to have been built around the average girl's natural habits, with seemingly no consideration at all given to the fact that boys will also be in attendance. When a boy leaves school and enters the workforce, he learns that masculinity is all but banned in the workplace. Every word spoken must be in alignment with the corporate values, values that perhaps coincidentally align one for one with the values of the average young woman. Any dissent from the gynocentric corporate culture will result in social ostracization if you're lucky, or even a formal reprimand or termination if you're unlucky. You must fall in line. You must conform. As a man matures and tries to find his role in life, he might look to law and government as a way to gain a better understanding of what justice is and how it can be implemented. And if he still hasn't been metaphorically castrated by society, and if he investigates with an open mind, what he'll find is a plethora of laws written by and for the benefit of women at the expense of men. Women get preferential treatment in custody disputes. Women get the right to terminate pregnancy while men get no say at all, and in domestic disputes, men are guilty until proven innocent. And all of this is why male loneliness is something that women could never comprehend. Male loneliness is what you feel when you are forced to hide your true self anytime you're in public for your entire life out of fear of becoming a pariah. Male loneliness is what you feel when you make a tame joke to your coworker and end up being forced to sit through a 2-day-long sensitivity training because Becky overheard you and claimed she felt threatened by your presence. Male loneliness is what you feel as you await trial in the county jail after you called the police when your wife attacked you with a 2.5-pound dumbbell. Sure, it sucks to have your romantic advances rejected. It sucks to sit at home watching black pill YouTube videos on Saturday night while all your classmates are all out partying. And it really, really sucks to be 35 years old and not even know what pussy feels like. But all of that pales in comparison to, and actually all of that is often the byproduct of, institutional loneliness. So what is male loneliness? Male loneliness is when you're worse off than even ugly women in terms of friendships and romantic relationships, But you also face significant institutional systems that, whether incidentally or by design, systems that terrorize you into either hiding your true self or just dropping out of the whole system altogether. Male loneliness is when you are expendable. Male loneliness is when nobody, literally nobody, cares about your happiness. Male loneliness is an epidemic. And the fourth and final level of loneliness is what we call total isolation. Since you're watching this video right now, that means you probably have access to the internet, and that means you definitely are not suffering from total isolation. Total isolation is the type of loneliness you feel when you are stranded alone on a desert island or when you're imprisoned in solitary confinement. This level of loneliness is exceptionally rare, and honestly, it might not even be as bad as male loneliness.